The 14-Day Carnivore Challenge, Day 4, Calorie Confusion. I'm the author, Jason Atkinson. We're all familiar with the concept of calories and the idea of energy balance. While there is a grain of truth to this idea, no pun intended, it's overly simplistic and doesn't take into consideration that the macronutrient composition of the foods, along with other factors such as level of processing, determines their hormonal impact and what the body does with them. When the energy balance hypothesis, calories in, calories out, was first proposed, we had a very low level of understanding about obesity, and most of the hormones that regulate appetite and energy expenditure hadn't even been discovered. Once we knew insulin, leptin, ghrelin, and other hormones were affected differently by protein, fat, and carbohydrates, meal timing, and other factors, it was too late. The energy balance had already been entrenched in the public consciousness through repetition. Yes, the amount of energy or calories in food is a major factor in achieving or maintaining a healthy weight and body composition, but the types of foods are way more important. Case in point, most ultra-processed foods are created to be overeaten, and they have addictive properties by design. On the other hand, it's virtually impossible to overeat a diet consisting mainly of lean protein and natural healthy sources of fat, possibly along with some fiber. The bottom line is the level of processing affects the health impact of foods. At each stage of human progress, we've had to expend less and less energy in order to extract more from our food. At one point in human history, processing foods actually improved their nutrient density. For example, cooking with fire enabled us to derive more nutrients. Fermentation extended the lifespan of food and increased beneficial bacteria it contained. Eventually, we crossed a threshold, and now processing makes food more hyperpalatable while simultaneously increasing energy density and reducing nutrient density. Modern ultra-processed foods also have addictive properties that make it more difficult to control the amount we consume. This is all by design with maximum profit in mind. Let's take a little journey through time and follow in the footsteps of our ancestors as we uncover the truth about how our primitive biology is reacting to the modern environment. Scientists tell us that pre-agricultural or Paleolithic cuisine was anything but lean and green. According to a 2021 study on the diets of our ancestors, for a good 2 million years, Homo sapiens and their ancestors dined heavily on meat, putting them at the top of the food chain. They consumed plants only sporadically when these foods were available in the wild. I looked through hundreds of previous studies on everything from modern human anatomy and physiology to measures of the isotopes inside ancient human bones and teeth suggested we were primarily apex predators until roughly 12,000 years ago. Would pre-agricultural era humans pass up some wild berries or other plants, edible plants? No, they wouldn't, and in my opinion, neither should you. Would they consume them year-round on a daily basis? No, they wouldn't, and neither should you. Remember, there's no such thing as a perfect diet, but following the cues from history will take us towards better health and a better understanding. Note, some of the information in this chapter was based on commentary from host of Peak Human Podcast and documentary filmmaker Brian Sanders. I've been a very strong supporter of the Food Lies documentary, which is now completion or near completion as a docuseries for Netflix, since Brian first came on my podcast to talk about it back in 2018. I'm looking forward to seeing him again to complete this project and blow the lid off the food industry practices and government policies that created the obesity epidemic. You can contact or support Brian at foodlies.org.